Time by Kyrie Chris is 6 p.m. Time for CBX Business News. The business news headlines is brought to you by CBX Wealth Management, making more possible.
Economic promises, regional boost, and China's loan slowdown. Hello, and welcome to CBX Business News for Wednesday, August 13, 2025. I am Rochelle Moncrief. Thanks for joining us. Coming up in the newscast, locally, PNP unveils manifesto, vows to strengthen links between supply and value chains if elected. On the regional front, PPPC pledges a major economic boost ahead of Guyana's September 1 general election. And over on the global stage, China records first monthly drop in yuan loans in 2 decades, a signal for global markets. Stay tuned as we unpack these stories and more right after the break.
Get fit, this summer sweat drip, hip dips and split, forward in the mind, let's get healthy with it. Sometimes the body's so hard, but the body wants it, and then your head is so home, and it's so like this. So we gotta go 1, 2, 3, one more now, 1, 2, 3, let's go, one more now, 1, 2, 3, one more now, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, go!
Okay, I just sent the money. I'll WhatsApp you the tracking number.
Thanks, Daddy. I can't wait to buy that PS5.
Listen to me. Your birthday money is not just for spending. Remember what I told your mom? Remember to open the bank account immediately after collecting the money. Your mom has her ID, TRN, proof of address, proof of income, and your school ID.
I'm not an adult yet, so Mommy will have to open the account with me.
Yes. Anyways, I'm headed back to work, so call me later. I love you guys.
This financial literacy tip is brought to you by Bank of Jamaica, promoting financial inclusion. For more information, visit our BOJ Real Talk playlist on our YouTube channel.
Wealth is not simply counted in dollars or cents, but in the time we spend with love, in love, giving love. Wealth is not simply a means to an end. It is the means to live out loud. Wealth is more than money. It's about family, the memories you create, the legacy you leave behind, and your ability to enjoy life in the moment. It's also about seeing the QMAX possibilities and seizing investment opportunities to achieve the future you want and deserve. Which is why QMAX Wealth will focus on your investments so you can experience more. Because true wealth is truly more. To start investing today, call 876-926-7767.
Hi, I'm Nielsen Rose, host of Let's Talk Stocks, reminding you that health is indeed wealth and time is really money. Why not spend a little time with us? Weekday mornings, 9 to 9:30 a.m. for your daily dose of business, economic, and investment insights.
The local news is brought to you by Darriman Trading, better from the start. Development Bank of Jamaica, facilitating economic growth and development. Caribbean flavors and fragrances tease the senses and pulse investments.
Welcome back to CBX Business News, where we continue to bring you the latest economic coverage from the local election campaign trail. The opposition People's National Party, PNP, says it will place greater focus on linking Jamaica's supply and value chains as part of its strategy to drive growth in the industrial sector. Speaking during the unveiling of the PNP's election manifesto titled Mission Jamaica Love on Tuesday, Member of Parliament for Western St. Andrew and Shadow Minister for Investment, Trade and Global Logistics, Anthony Hilton, outlined the party's innovation and industry agenda for the next 5 years if it wins the September 3 general election.
From 2012 to 2016, the last PNP administration introduced to Jamaica in a fundamental way the concept of logistics as a functional area of the economy and a logistic hub as a strategy for economic growth. The next PNP administration will be making more complex and to point out the connection between the supply chain and the value chain, and to drive industry in the process.
He painted a vivid picture of why Jamaica must strengthen links between the supply and value chain.
Let's be honest with ourselves. Our bauxite reserves won't last forever. Tourism, as wonderful as it is, leaves us vulnerable to every hurricane, every global pandemic, every economic shock that comes our way. And our over-reliance on remittances, now under significant threat, has undermined economic resilience and stifled domestic productivity, leaving a nation vulnerable and limiting long-term development.
Mr. Hilton also highlighted several strategies for capitalizing on opportunities through stronger connections between the supply and value chains.
With every disruption comes an opportunity for reinvention. Think about it. The same digital revolution that threatens traditional industries is the same force that can connect a young programmer in Spanish Town to clients in Silicon Valley. The same climate change that challenges our agricultural sector can drive us towards becoming the Caribbean's first truly green economy. This is why we must embrace the PNP's initiative, Jamaica 4.0. Jamaica 4.0 is not a slogan, but a movement and a whole-of-nation approach. Jamaica 4.0 means building a knowledge-based economy where a brilliant mind in Mandeville is just as valuable as one in Manhattan. It means creating tech innovation zones in Montego Bay, Kingston, Mandeville, and Port Antonio.
MP for Western St. Andrew, Anthony Hilton. In the meantime, opposition leader and PNP President Marco Golding, unveiling the party's manifesto, described it as a blueprint for a new chapter in Jamaica's development centered on the vision Jamaica Love.
This manifesto is our plan for a new chapter built on our vision, Jamaica Love. It stands on 10 pillars: justice for all, access to quality education, modern infrastructure, agriculture and food security, innovation and industry, care for the vulnerable, accountability in governance, land and housing, opportunity for youth, violence prevention, and environmental resilience.
He noted that the 10 pillars will guide the party in investing in Jamaicans, aiming to enhance financial empowerment and support broader development goals.
These pillars are a compass. They will guide us to invest in people, close the gaps between uptown and downtown, between tourism zones and rural parishes, between the well-connected few who thrive while the majority feel neglected and dejected. We will protect economic stability and leverage it into inclusive and sustainable growth, creating a new era of opportunities for those who are now excluded from prosperity, while tackling corruption and the abuse of power in governance.
Opposition leader and leader of the People's National Party, Mark Golding. In other news, Victoria Mutual Investments Limited, VMIL, is reporting increased revenues with top-line performance for Q2 ended June 30, 2025. In its consolidated financial statements for Q2, VMIL says its revenues amounted to $653.8 million when compared to $497.1 million the prior year. This was led by a 43% increase in fees and commissions and a 24% increase in gains from investment activities. VMIL's 6-month consolidated revenues of $1,287.5 million fell short of the prior year corresponding period amount by 9%. This was mainly driven by the one-off gain of $422.3 million derived from the disposal of the company's interest in Caroland in 2024. When normalized for the effect of this transaction, VMIL delivered strong consolidated revenue growth of over $300 million or 30% over the second quarter of 2024's results. VMIL says net interest income continues to outperform, recording a 34% increase in the quarter-over-quarter results and a 97% increase in the year-over-year 6-month performance. VMIL's second quarter results reflected an after-tax net loss of $39.2 million. Notwithstanding the weaknesses in the market, the company says it continues to take disciplined steps towards restoring profitability through increasing revenue through the development and conversion of a robust pipeline of transactions and enforcing strict expense controls in light of the year-over-year increases in operating costs. Despite ongoing market headwinds impacting performance in the first half of the year, VMIL says it remains committed to delivering innovative, client-focused solutions. And now for news from the Bank of Jamaica on how the currency markets traded today. In Wednesday's currency trading session, the US dollar is selling for $161.31. The Canadian for $117.38, the pound sterling for $218.72, while $190.92 is the going rate for the euro. And now for news from the JSE on how the local equities markets traded today. In Wednesday's trading session, the JSE market activity resulted in the trading of 109 stocks, of which 42 advanced, 42 declined, and 25 traded firm. Today's winners are Mayberry Jamaican Equities, Jetcon Corporation, Paramount Trading Jamaica, and G West Corporation ordinary shares, while leading the losers are Caribbean Flavors and Fragrances, JFP Limited, Lumber Depot, and Spur Tree Spices Jamaica. The main index advanced by 1,135.63 points, or 0.37%, to close at 311,964.85 points. The junior market index declined by 3.50 points, or 0.10%, to close at 3,470.92 points.
And it's time for Market Education Feature, brought to you by CariCris, Regional Ratings, Global Standard.
In today's Market Education Feature, we will be defining the term general ledger. A general ledger is a system used by accountants to store and analyze financial data, which is then used to prepare a company's financial statements. Transactions are first recorded in the firm's subledger accounts, detailed records for specific financial accounts, such as property and equipment expenses. These subledgers are typically organized according to the company's chart of accounts. The transactions are then summarized in the general ledger, from which the accountant prepares a trial balance. This document provides a summary of the ending balances for each ledger account.
The Market Education Feature was brought to you by CariCris, Regional Ratings, Global Standards.
And that's it for the local news segment. Please stay with us. The regional news is up next.
The local news is brought to you by Derriman Trading, better from the start. Development Bank of Jamaica, facilitating economic growth and development. Caribbean Flavors and Fragrances, tease the senses. And Pulse Investments.
Welcome back. And now for the regional business news. As CBX News continues to track major economic developments on Guyana's campaign trail, PPPC General Secretary Dr. Bharat Jagdeo has unveiled a sweeping economic agenda ahead of the September 1 general election, pledging expanded support for small businesses and new jobs through nationwide infrastructure projects. Speaking at a public meeting in Region 5 on Tuesday, the party General Secretary announced expanded opportunities for small contractors and entrepreneurs.
There are going to be massive support for business, small business development. So in each community, we have started building roads already, the concrete roads, and you see them. And we have about 5,000 local contractors, many small people who get local contracts.
Jagdeo also outlined plans to reduce cooking gas costs through local production while maintaining Guyana's record low fuel prices.
We'll be able, from our own factory, to produce or plant to produce all the cooking gas that we import now. We'll start exporting cooking gas, so you will see a substantial cut in cooking gas prices. That will make a big difference. We will continue to subsidize gasoline and diesel to keep the costs down like we're doing now. We have the lowest gasoline and diesel rate in the entire Caribbean.
PPPC General Secretary Dr. Bharat Jagdeo. Trinidad and Tobago is set to welcome ExxonMobil back after 22 years with a landmark agreement for ultra-deep water oil and gas exploration. The deal covers the newly defined UD1 area of Trinidad's east coast in waters 2,000 to 3,000 meters deep northwest of Guyana's Stabroek Block. The latest boost to Trinidad's energy sector coincides with the completion of the United National Congress (UNC) government's first 100 days in office. Speaking at a UNC event on Monday, Prime Minister Kamla Persad Bissesa says the project is expected to deliver large volumes of hydrocarbons at high margins while creating jobs and boosting local spending.
This represents a significant new frontier that can supply our energy and petrochemical plants, create good jobs, embrace and enhance our foreign exchange reserves.
She says ExxonMobil will invest over $42 million in the initial phase with potential development cost of almost $22 billion.
ExxonMobil is projected to incur expenditure at $42.5 million US in this first phase of the project. And in the event of success, the project development costs could range from $16.4 billion to $21.7 billion right here in TNT. The benefits arising from this project would be enormous, as deep water exploration has the potential to deliver large volumes at high margins, more than offsetting the handicap of tying up a lot of technical capital and technical challenges.
Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, Kamla Persad Bissesa. In other news, Angostura Holdings Limited reported a solid performance for the first half of 2025, with revenue climbing 6% year-on-year to TT $488 million, driven by robust international sales and new product innovation. Profit before tax rose 3% to TT $97 million, supported by a 16% surge in the company's international branded rum segment and a 4% increase in Angostura Bitters sales in the U.S. market. Stable revenue from key local rum and agency brands also bolstered results. Operating results dipped 3% due to increased brand investment, including hosting the Global Cocktail Challenge finals in Trinidad and ramping up marketing spend in overseas markets. However, finance income jumped 54%, benefiting from US dollar investments. Meanwhile, net profit edged up 2% to TT $68 million, with earnings per share rising to TT 33 cents from TT 32 cents a year earlier. Total assets grew 8% to TT $1.9 billion, while the group maintained a low debt ratio of 0.16. Reflecting confidence in its financial position, the board declared an interim dividend of TT 10 cents per share, payable on October 31, 2025, to shareholders on record as of October 10. It's now time for news from the Trinidad and Tobago Stock Exchange. Overall market activity resulted from trading in 24 securities, of which 7 advanced, 7 declined, and 10 traded firm. Today's winners are NCB Financial Group, Ansa McCall, Ansa Merchant Bank, and Massey Holdings, while leading the losers are One Caribbean Media, the West Indian Tobacco Company, National Flour Mills, and Prestige Holdings. Trading activity resulted in the following movements. The All TNT Index advanced by 0.90 points to close at 1,474.54. The Composite Index advanced by 3.31 points to close at 1,021.52. The Cross-Listed Index advanced by 0.83 points to close at 75.16. The SME Index advanced by 0.01 points to close at 96.44. And we take a short break, but please do stay with us. The international news segment with Nielsen Rose is up next.
China fell by 50 billion Chinese yuan in July, marking the first monthly contraction in lending since 2005 and sharply reversing June's 2.4 trillion surge, according to official data released this week. The figure came in well below market projections of 300 billion in growth, reflecting a seasonal slowdown as banks ease off quarterly lending targets. Total social financing, a broader gauge of credit and liquidity in the economy, rose by 1.16 trillion, down significantly from the 4.2 trillion won in June. While still higher than the 0.77 trillion recorded a year earlier, the figure missed a forecast of 1.5 trillion, underscoring weaker than expected credit momentum. Outstanding loan growth slowed to 6.9% year-on-year, the weakest pace since 1998, down from 7.1% in June and below the projected 7%. The deceleration points to persistent headwinds in domestic demand and cautious lending behavior among financial institutions. In contrast, M2 money supply growth accelerated to 8.8%, up from 8.3% in June, and exceeded expectations of 8.2%, suggesting that liquidity remains ample despite a subdued credit expansion. The average contract interest rate for 30-year fixed-rate mortgages with conforming loan balances of $806,500 or less declined by 10 basis points to 6.67% for the week ending August 8, reaching its lowest level in 4 months, according to data released Wednesday by the Mortgage Bankers Association. The drop in rates spurred a sharp increase in mortgage activity. Total application volume rose 10.9% from the previous week, marking the largest weekly gain in 2 months. The average loan size also climbed to $366,400, reflecting increased sensitivity to rate movements among borrowers with larger mortgages. As seen in other recent refinance bursts, the average loan size grew significantly, said Joel Khan, MBA's deputy chief economist. Borrowers with larger loan sizes continue to be more sensitive to rate movements. Adjustable rate mortgages ARMs saw a notable uptick, with applications rising 25% to their highest level since 2022. ARMs accounted for nearly 10% of total applications, driven by their relative affordability compared to fixed-rate products. WTI crude futures declined to $62.70 per barrel, the lowest level in over 2 months, following a bearish outlook from the International Energy Agency, IEA. The agency projected a growing global oil surplus through 2025 and into 2026, with inventories expected to climb at a record pace and reach a 46-month high by June 2026. The forecast aligns with similar projections from the U.S. government, reinforcing expectations of softening supply-demand dynamics. The IEA also noted that U.S. oil production is likely to peak this year, supported by improved efficiency at existing wells, before tapering off in 2026. According to the pressure, a U.S. industry report indicated a slight increase in crude stockpiles last week, ahead of official inventory data due later today. Geopolitical tensions remain in focus as traders await the U.S.-Russia summit in Alaska on Friday. The meeting aims to negotiate an end to the war in Ukraine, though progress remains uncertain. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky rejected Russia's demand to cede the Donbas region and called for Kyiv's inclusion in the talks. The outcome could include the potential easing of U.S. sanctions on Russian oil, with implications for global supply. The U.S. government recorded a $291 billion budget deficit in July 2025, up from a $47 billion from the same month last year, as spending outpaced revenue growth despite a sharp rise in customs duties from higher tariffs under President Donald Trump. Monthly receipts rose 2% to $338 billion, while outlays surged 10% to a record $630 billion, according to the Treasury Department. Fewer business days in July reduced revenue by an estimated $20 billion. Adjusting for this, the deficit would stand at approximately $271 billion. Customs duty collections jumped to $28 billion, up from $8 billion a year earlier, driven by the new tariff regime. However, the boost was not enough to offset rising expenditures. For the first 10 months of the fiscal year, the deficit reached $1.629 trillion, a 7% increase year over year. Receipts totaled a record $4.347 trillion, up 6%, while spending climbed 7% to $5.975 trillion, also a 10-month high. And those were your international business stories. After the break, do rejoin us for your recap.
And now to recap our top stories. In the local news, PNP vows to strengthen links between supply and value chains if elected. Regionally, PPPC pledges major economic boost ahead of Guyana's September 1 election. And internationally, China's new yuan loans post first monthly loan decline since 2005. Those were the stories making today's CBX Evening News. On behalf of Nielsen Rose and the entire production team, I'm Rochelle Moncrief. Thanks for watching CBX, your region, your business, your source.
My name is Kimani Friend. I'm a former professional basketball player. You're watching CBX, your region, your business,